She moved in on a Tuesday. Not because it was symbolic, just because that was when the lease started. The apartment was small, with wooden floors that creaked in places and a window that overlooked the street. But what made it different was the smell. Every morning at 6, the scent of fresh bread rose through the floorboards. The bakery downstairs opened before sunrise. She didn't know the owner yet, only that he worked early, long hours, and sometimes sang quietly while mixing dough. She could hear it faintly when the street was still asleep. The first week, she ignored it. The second week, she gave in. One morning, still half awake, she walked downstairs in a sweater and soft shoes, hair unstyled, eyes barely open. The bell above the bakery door chimed softly. Warm air wrapped around her instantly. He was behind the counter, flour on his hands, surprised to see her so early. "You must be from upstairs," he said. She nodded, embarrassed. "Your bread makes it impossible to sleep." He laughed, not offended, but pleased. She started coming every morning after that. At first for coffee, then for conversation. He told her how he learned baking from his grandmother, how he refused to cut corners, how dough needed patience more than force. She told him about her new job, about how everything felt temporary and uncertain, about how she wasn't sure if she'd stay in the city longer than a year. He listened the way bakers knead dough, steady, careful, without rushing. One evening, after closing, he invited her to stay while he experimented with a new recipe. She sat on the counter while he worked, watching his hands move with quiet confidence. The space felt different at night. Softer, more personal. Flour dusted the air lightly. The lights were dimmer. The city outside quieter. She didn't remember who leaned in first. The kiss tasted faintly like sugar and warmth. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't planned. It felt like something that had been rising slowly, just waiting for the right moment to be pulled from the oven. Weeks passed. She stayed longer than a year. Sometimes love doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it rises quietly beneath you, morning after morning, until one day you realize you're exactly where you belong. Living above a bakery meant her mornings were never quiet again, but she stopped wanting them to be. The rhythm of kneading, the soft hum of ovens heating, the scrape of trays sliding in and out became part of her routine. It was grounding, predictable in the best way. She started helping before work sometimes. Not officially. Just tying on an apron and handing him ingredients, learning the difference between dough that was ready and dough that needed time. He teased her when she rushed it. "Bread can tell when you're impatient," he'd say. "So can people," she'd reply. One night, after closing, they stayed late again. The shop smelled like cinnamon and toasted crust. He showed her how to braid dough carefully, guiding her hands from behind. The closeness wasn't accidental this time. His breath brushed her ear when he corrected her grip. Her heartbeat shifted. They worked slower than necessary. When the loaf was finally in the oven, the quiet between them thickened. Not awkward, charged. She turned slightly in his arms, flour smudged across her cheek. He wiped it away with his thumb, not breaking eye contact. This kiss wasn't hesitant. It carried the warmth of weeks of almosts. Hands slid naturally along familiar shapes. She felt the heat from the oven at her back and his warmth in front of her, trapped in that small space between work tables and shelves. They didn't rush upstairs. They let the moment breathe. Let the oven timer tick down. Let the reality settle that this wasn't just convenience. It wasn't proximity. It was choice. Later, sitting on the steps outside the bakery with the night air cool around them, she admitted she had almost left the city months ago. He didn't react dramatically. He just nodded. "I'm glad you didn't," he said. She realized something then. She hadn't stayed for the apartment, or the job, or even the bread. She stayed for how she felt when the morning started with warmth rising through the floorboards. Sometimes love doesn't sweep you off your feet. Sometimes it anchors you quietly, like the steady heat of an oven that never stops working.